See if this thing's running yet here. I've been very good about streaming this stuff. Let's see. Ooh, it says I'm live. Does it work? All right. All right, we're good to go. All right, so back. Went and saw the rest of The Brutalist movie, which I won't give you too many spoilers, but it was the last chunk of it I found to be rather frustrating. I'll say that. It was like pretty good for a while, and then it just sort of like went away. Like they ran out of time, and it was like, "This is okay. Finish the movie." That was it. So anyway, possible before we switch over to the patterning software, because the simpler the design, the easier it is to make the patterns. And again, I'm trying to sort out where I make some exceptions, like these little bumps here and so forth. They're going to pattern's going to try to recreate those, but I think I'm going to just smooth these guys down and not worry about this part. I feel like I can initially I can eyeball this in, and it'll be pretty close. So I'm just going to average this out here a little bit. So I have it on the Z modeler tool, but if I average the polygons out like so, gets us pretty close. And again, I can do a thing to check what it's like in smoother, which is just hit D, and you see it added thickness because I have this on dynamic subdivision here, which is in the geometry. My brain is spacing out because it is getting late. Z remeasure, there it is, dynamic subdivision. So we are going to turn the thickness all the way down, because we don't need that. And we're going to turn the smooth up to about 2. So we can get an idea of what it's going to look like with the foam. Now this is a thing where the crease comes in handy. In the crease, we're going to clear all, uncrease all, and then increase by polygroups. And now, see, it sharpens up wherever we have the grout lines. Just gives us a better representation, because when it's the simpler it gets, the harder it is to tell. But we can turn on smoothing and kind of get an idea. It kind of averages between the faces, and you get a better look at what it will probably look like. And since we have the other shorts underneath, these are the untouched ones. I can go to Z project, which is BZP, push the geometry up or down to match another piece of geometry that is underneath. So I'm going to turn on the colors here so we can see a little bit better. Also, I'm going to turn off that smoothing dynamic subdivision, because when it's off, I can get the pixels or the polygons to mate up with the surface better. So you can see the current one that we're working on is actually the colorful one, but it also has the wireframe turned on, and it is so close to the surface right now that we can see the wireframe. If I push this inward, let me just give an example here, make sure I'm not messing this up. If I push this inward with like a regular brush, or pull it out, you can see it changed colors. If I push it inward, you lose the facets of the different polygons. So when it's like this, you know that it's right on the surface, because we're actually seeing the gray of the under model, and then the parts that have some color are the model we have selected. Now I'm going to manually move around some of these areas here at the top just to make them kind of line up, because it's really close to the top. So doing the polygon, Z project wants to try to push it around this corner, which we don't want. And technically speaking, I could probably simplify. Let me solo this again. So on the top here, you can see I've got 2 levels of polygons. It really doesn't need it. This can be, I'm looking at the real shorts right now, and there's not much curve from the bottom to the top like this. So if I got rid of this line here and just continue these straight up, it would simplify this piece and make our life easier. So what I do is I go to zmodeler, BZM, and then up here you can see it's on zmodeler. And when you hover over a face or an edge or a point here, if I go to the edge and I hold down the space bar, it gives me some options. So if I hit insert, if I go here, it'll insert an edge if I need it. Or if I go on an existing edge and hold Alt and click it, it'll take that edge out. So you can see that really simplifies the shape here, maybe too much. But you go to polish and see if I can kind of average these guys out a little bit so it doesn't look so funky. Kind of like that. And same down here. And we can physically, manually move these pieces as well, which we're going to do because I got to basically kind of manually line this back up with the surface. And around here, there's probably more than you need. So BZM for zmodeler, we can remove some polygons. You can see in here it kind of got a little messy as I was moving things around. So I'm trying to delete what I can without taking away anything important. And oops, that's weird. Sometimes if a polygon connects in a certain way, the entire loop gets deleted, and ZBrush doesn't like that. Like that. See how it comes down here and it terminates right here at this split, which is okay. We got a little splinch on one side. See this splinch on one side, but it's not on the other. So somehow, every once in a while, when you're working with, especially the Z project, sometimes the symmetry will get turned off. Not turned off, but it'll like ignore it and it'll do some weird things. So to fix the symmetry, we go down to geometry, which I was in, modified topology is already there, and mirror and weld, which, my God, my brain. All right, there we go. So now you can see it just mirrored this side over to this side, which this is the left side of the screen, but this is the right side of the shorts to the left. So keep that in mind if you're ever doing that. We'll look at this. This is the low poly version. You can see there's some roughness in here, which doesn't really matter as long as we kind of have an impression of the shapes that should be there. And we should be good. So I'm going to try to project this back up. I mean, technically speaking, right now it's pretty good. But we are going to go to these edges here. And when I click on the edge here, I don't want it to accidentally insert things. So I'm going to hit do nothing. Same on the faces. I have it on do nothing. And then for the points, I'm going to go to move. So when I grab a point like this, I can kind of smidge it around if I need to. That's going to help me. Just line this top up a little bit. If I turn the wireframe on here, we can see this a little bit better. And I'm going to bring it up to the top, and then I'm going to change angles, and I will move them to the front so that it's even. And because I've lowered the geometry so much, minimized it, it's going to make this a little bit easier here. Just carry that out to the edge. And this little return on the top, we're not going to worry about because the foam already has some thickness, so it'll replicate that without us having to do anything. It's kind of like free geometry. Oops. So I'll pull this up. Where's this next one? It's here. Cool. Let's see. Rink-a-dink. And basically, let's just chase this stuff around until it is looking cool. And I brought in, where did I put it? I brought some foam in so you guys could see the foam that I was going to use. Jason, yo, how are you doing? Can you believe I am back again, twice in the same day? Trying to get this, I'd like to get these templates, at least the first version of them, kind of worked out so I could start constructing a pair, make sure that there's not anything too weird. I may post these up on my page and just let people have at them if they want to try them, but it's going to be a disclaimer that they are the preliminary version, so they may need some editing. Ba-bam. So now I'm just manually moving some of these things around a little bit. Now you can see there's some funky stuff going on with the geometry over here. That is okay. Let's look at this here really quick. Now technically I could grab more of the line. And I was doing a Z-project earlier. I don't know if you've been on here for that, but I was doing Z-project, and at the top where that little return is, it's trying to force my geometry over to the turn, and I don't want that. I just want this to be kind of like, I'm going to eyeball this into the top here like this, get it pretty close, and then we'll average it back down as we go, and just doing all the meticulous stuff. And I'll probably take this pretty soon and just bring it into the patterning program and make a rough version to see how it handles this much geometry, because this is pretty low res. If you were going to print, this would be terrible, but for making patterns, this is about the highest of the range that you want. You don't want too much more geometry than this. So, okay, let's see here. Solo. Yeah, you don't want too much more geometry than this for the patterns, and even this starts to get a little cumbersome sometimes. So I'm trying to lower this as much as possible, so there's just less to fight with later. And this geometry here, I'm going to ignore this little box. I'll see if there's a way that I can get the geometry to kind of delineate where it is so that I can mark it appropriately so we know where the piece goes once I model it. Or once we cut the foam out. We don't want it to be weird, you know? So, going up here, you can see the geometry takes some weird turns in this area. This is kind of not the best, but yeah, see that? Can I ditch one of these lines here? Let's look. If I can. Just trying to transition from all of these steps down into less steps over here. So let's do ditch that one. We'll move this. Oops, added it back, didn't mean to. So I think, what do we have here? Can I? And this is all funky. Again, it doesn't matter a ton, but it is nicer when it's nicer, if that makes sense. So add one back in. Yeah, I think so. So then I'll weld some stuff here. Go boom, and we'll go to stitch. Stitch that. Stitch. And this. Oops, did I mean to do it like that? No, I didn't. Golly. I looked at your Patreon the other week. You do not have level set up. I just set up the first one yesterday. So now I have a $5 level, which is where some of these pieces are going to be. And that will be sweet. So I got that set up. I still have to learn how to do like the file uploads and stuff, but I'm not quite there yet, so that'll be okay. I'll have those soon, and then I'll be able to do some kind of file sharing on these things. See this ugly thing? So I'm going to delete this and this and this, and I'm just going to bridge. Look at this. I'm going to move this over like so. I'm going to insert. Insert. There we go. Zonk. Now I can bridge these suckers across. So bridge. Boop, 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 boop. And we'll insert a loop. Boop. And then we'll stitch. Grab the edge here. Stitch this and that. And this and that. Oops. This and that. And then we will hide all of these guys. Oh my god. If I can do this right. Come on. Why is it fighting me? There we go. And invert. Turn these all into one piece. And we're back. Yay! Now, this is kind of funky back here. Let's see what it looks like with the thing on. Oh yeah, I still have to pull this back. So, all right, let's take a look here. We go back to these. We're going to go to move. I'm going to turn off the other options here. This is a do nothing. We don't want to accidentally delete. I'm going to put this on do nothing. Now, I don't have to do that, but I find that for me, I'm kind of clumsy with these little polygons here, so it makes it a little bit easier. And again, these are, I'm just sort of generically pulling them away from the surface, and I'll turn the other layer back on so I can see it. Now, you see when I move it, how the other one disappears? That is because I accidentally put dynamic right here on solo. Turn that off, and then everything stays on. And I could not find that. When I was started doing ZBrush, I did not know that's what was happening. I could not for the life of me figure out why it would do this and disappear. It made me crazy. And I looked everywhere on the internet, and it was like nobody seemed to have a solution for it. And I would literally close ZBrush and restart it to reset that thing. And then one day I finally found somebody that mentioned what the heck that was. And that was freaking sweet. So now, let's see. Just made it a little bit high. And come on, why is it fighting me? Let's see. Come on. Yeah, try to figure out exactly which way to move these sometimes is tricky, because this vague back here, I don't want to go too high. I want to go a little higher than this, but not so high up that it looks weird, because this is technically the edge, and then the return here is going to be represented by the foam that we're using. So I don't need to follow it too high up, but you can see I'm kind of losing some ground in this area, so I'm going to pull this stuff outward to compensate. Like so. And this should put us in the area. This is where I could do the Z project. B, Z, P. And now if I hold down Alt, it'll drag these polygons out to the mod. I don't know how I do this every time. Some key combo brings that menu up, and I do not know what it is. And look at that. Didn't do it on one side for some reason. Did I not have? Weird. So, do it over here. Level this out. There's some like generic geometry floating back there. Not good. So basically, you use a Z project. We'll put it, basically line it up with our reference geometry, which is underneath, which I saved from earlier when I kind of made the base level. Someone needs some Vicks. Oh yeah, that's my wife. She's got a cold back there. You can hear. I might be getting it too. I don't know. I kind of felt it a little earlier, but I feel fine currently, but I had like a little wave of like, am I getting a fever? Earlier today, and then it went away and I'm good, and I had a little bit of that yesterday. My wife's been sick for a few days now. She's been coughing and stuff. It's great. So I'm bound to end up with it. Alright, so there we go. I'm going to polish this out. VHP, and I'm just going to kind of go back and forth here and average out these surfaces a little bit. A little funky, but it's okay. That will kind of relax out all this weirdness that I've done. And now for these chunky bits, BZM, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna like kind of average between these and sort of get them less janky looking. Make it a little smaller. And then just try to find whichever one looks the most out of place. I go and I kind of try to level it a little bit. There's a little funky one here. And some of this stuff for the first draft is probably just going to be some like a little bit of finessing on the foam versions. Zinc, yeah, we got the zinc here. It is a party. We have got the zinc and the magnesium and the D3 and all the good vitamins. It's stellar. Alrighty, going through these guys, soften it up, kind of relax the geometry. So it, again, so you want it to average out so you don't have like weird pinches and stuff. And on the front, right in this area, you can see I got some like doubled up weirdness right here that I gotta kind of sort out. And I think BZM would go back to Z modeler, and I think that I could probably, let me go to insert, probably clear a couple of those. And see that it didn't mirror it. It took one off one side. Oh, I guess it did. I don't know. Oop. And can I get rid of that one? Yeah, it starts to get too weird. So I'm trying, like I said, to simplify this as much as possible. And then crease, we're going to uncrease all, crease polygroups, and then we're going to put on dynamic subdivision and see how it looks. It's got a little dent there. That's something that'll be fixed in the foam pretty easily. So this is our basic kind of layout currently. And it's decent. I gotta sort of sort out how this panel is going to work, but currently it is okay. And that's good enough. We can go check it out and then do our first kind of draft in the patterning program, which is pt2 Creator. Or pt2 Designer, I think is what I'm actually using. I'm debating whether I should do a quick. If I do a Z remesher, it's going to add in more geometry in these spots. It's going to average out the rest and add more loops here, which I don't want. I could go back and re-delete them, and it wouldn't hurt, but I can. Let's try it, see how it looks, and then I can just hit undo if I hate it. So where it's down here where it says half and same, I'm going to go to same, and we're going to hit Z remesher and see if it. It didn't do it. It's pretty good. Actually, it looks pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see what the other piece on. That's not bad. That is not very bad at all. That's pretty good. Okay. Okay, let's take this into our. Let me save this real quick. Droid shorts. Let's see, foam. I'll put that. Where are the foam ones? Got a lot of random stuff I'm working on here. RA7 stuff. Foam pattern. There we go. Let's just do foam. Okay, and now we got to export. Same thing. Foam. Foam pattern test. We're just going to overwrite that one. Save it. Yes, ta-da. And let's see here. Now we go to the droid shorts. This is the first one I brought in earlier. And we are going to open. No, we're not going to save that. We're going to open this one. Okay. So, no flip. And finish. And height. That looks about correct. So that's good. So there's our dimensions. And everything that's red will be separated. So if I unfold this, and it'll make the patterns all crazy, which we're going to have to do some manual work because it does have a lot of geometry. But I can get a better stitch than this. But you can see anywhere where there's red, it doesn't make tabs. Like if I zoom in here, see these little white things? Those are tabs where you would glue other pieces. And we're going to clean this up so it won't look all totally nuts. But where the red is, there will be no corresponding tabs. And the thing is, on these tabs, you can add numbers so that a tab will correspond with a part on the other face. So when you assemble them, they go together correctly, which is very handy for doing foam because you can mark it off. But we're going to undo this. We don't need to do this. Just say, okay, it doesn't matter. So the way we fix all of these broken edges is to go under, let's see, I haven't done this in a while, 3, show object list. So every one of these little red chunks is a different piece here. And they're all selected currently. So we will go unite objects. And then 1990 edges were merged. Okay, boom. And close. So we've got a couple here that are still like not merged. Let's look at it again. Let's see the object list again. Sometimes it won't get them all. View object list. It looks like they're one piece, but for some reason we got these orange bits here. It might be things where they're connected on all the sides, but one side won't connect. Let's see. Let me check a thing here. Print paper to other settings. We are going to go to advanced. Join adjacent edges, 2D pattern automatically. There's one here, default angle of flap. Maximum undo history. I don't use this program all the time. I feel like every time I go in here, I have to like kind of reorient myself a little bit. Devin, evening, man. Hello, Devin. How are you doing? What was the pattern software? This pattern software is called pt2 Designer. And it's like a $40 program. I've had it for years, and it is so handy. So I don't know if you guys were on here before when I was talking about the excuse me, the costume I made for Masked Singer, which was the gumball machine costume. But that costume, if you look up Masked Singer Gumball, that costume, all the foam fabrication, all the patterns were done in this program. And I did all the CG work in ZBrush and in Fusion 360, but I basically exported my parts from ZBrush, made the patterns here, and then cut my foam. So that whole costume was made basically using this program to help me. And there's other ways to do that too. Like you could print a little model and then do tape patterns and tape it off and make like a little pattern, and then basically you blow it up at a print shop and then just blow it up into big pieces of paper, which will work. You could do it with clay. You can sculpt a thing and then make a pattern off that. That works really well too. All these ways are good to know. And I feel like if you know how to do a pattern that way, doing the pattern in this program is easier because these patterns here are made to be done out of paper. So you initially, like, this program was made to make paper models, and it works great for that. But you can simplify the designs and use it for foam fabrication too. It's very handy. We unifying welding faces for UVW work soon. Probably not for doing UVs. Like typically I don't have to do that very often. Every once in a while I will, like if there's like a pattern embossed in a surface, I'll have to do the UVs to put the pattern on and basically extrude out the whatever the surface patterns are. I don't have to do that very often. Actually, on my EV99 droid that I'm working on, underneath the head, under here, there's like a almost like a weird weave pattern that I put under there. I had to do that, but that's like the last time I've done it. It's been a while. But typically when I'm making a prop, I don't have to unless it's got some specific kind of thing and I'm trying to cheat and I need to map it out. Like some of the Marvel helmets, like Black Panther or Captain America, they have like texture on the helmets, and you got to do UV mapping to do all that stuff. But most stuff I do, it doesn't have that on there. Let's see. So, got these little orange things. Let me see if I can weld this better. Edit mode. Edit model. See, I'm curious as to why like this line. Cancel that. Don't. Did I just unstitch it? I did. Damn it. Alright, we'll try that again. UV. Divide, swap, view vertices. Alright, we go back to here. Show object list. There's all the objects. Select all. Unite objects. 1990. Same thing. I don't know why it's got these little orange edges. Close. We'll split it anyway. Again, this is probably going to be like a test version, so the chances of me redoing this are real high. Yeah, look at this. I got the sign of the goat and a piece. Ta-da! And it's pretty good. So now we got this big mess of stuff here to look at. And if we come in here, you see they're all broken up. Now, lower geometry is easier to work with, but this is going to be fine. It's just going to take a little more manual kind of setup here. So we're going to go to join, just join faces, Control N. And you can work here. So if I split these, you can see I can split the model apart here. Split it down the middle, which might be the best spot. I don't know yet. We're going to test it and see. And basically separate all these pieces out so we have like the shorts are split in half. And if I made one half and it works that way, then I can just flip the pattern to do the other half. So I can just, pattern out one side, flip all the patterns and do the other side. And it should be pretty good. Orange edges are flip faces. They could be, there's not really a reason for them to be flipped, but you could be right. Sometimes it's just they don't bond properly because it's looking at it like an edge where, like if there's a compound curve, it tries to break it up. And I usually change how it's broken up, so it'll look at it and it's like, there's ways to turn down the angle. I have to go through the settings and do it where it'll simplify the model, but sometimes it's too simple and you start to lose some of the stuff. So there's like a happy middle ground there. But anyway, let's see here. We'll start connecting pieces. You can see as I do this, it'll start patching these little holes and it'll start to come together. A lot of like individual polygons or separate, but right, this one here where these guys are really close, these are not gonna, like if I do this, it's just gonna move it to the other side. It's gonna kind of keep popping it apart, which we don't really want to do that. I guess it's close enough, but somewhere in here I'm gonna have to put like a relief line where it splits, and in a pattern that'll be something where you would cut it and then glue the pieces together, and that'll force a curve into the foam, which is something we want. And a lot of times like this, you see how this little chunk here is a bunch of weird overlap. This is connected on an edge someplace, and the computer doesn't know how to handle it exactly. So a lot of times what I do is bring as much of it together as I can so that I can see it, and then try to figure out any spots where you'll see here in a second, like where stuff wants to overlap each other, that either needs to be split off into two pieces, or sometimes like have the connecting point set at the other end. Like if they're crossed over like this, if you connect the other point down here, sometimes it'll fix the gap, and now it becomes a dart in your pattern, which can be handy. So you can see this can be tedious. Let's look around and see what big pieces we have here. Start joining some stuff up. So you can see these are, if you click on the face here, it'll show you what part it is on the model, which is handy. I'm going to go ahead and connect these for right now. But here's a good example. So when I connect it down here, you can see how it starts to overlap the model. So this technically will be a different piece. Actually, in the part, when I start doing the fabrication, this part is going to be, like if I zoom in here, this return piece here will actually be the edge of the foam. So I won't have to cut this little thin piece. Now I'm going to keep it in the pattern for my reference. I might even use it as a guide for this to lengthen this out a little bit so that this goes behind, just to represent that, sort of cheat it, so it's easier to understand what's happening when someone goes to make these patterns. It's not like a big confusing mess, because you can see there's a lot of geometry here. But yeah, sometimes these take a few iterations to kind of figure out how they're going to flow. Da-da-da. That is part of the front, I think. Yeah, see that this piece wants curved this way, and this piece is curving completely opposite. And each one of these little rectangles equals a page of paper. So my goal is to simplify this enough where it's not taking up 100 pages of paper. I kind of enjoy that part, like getting everything to fit. Whoops. So then see how there's a lot of overlap here. It's weird. It's okay. So move this around. And yeah, it's pretty fun. It's kind of a little bit meditative, honestly, when you get into doing this. I kind of space out. And if I'm not live streaming, I'd put on some music. Or something, and just kind of get in the zone and block these suckers in. Again, this is pt2 Creator. Typically, if I can, I will do a lower geometry than this just to make my life easier, so there's not so many, like especially these little random pieces that are floating around everywhere. They sometimes can be a bit much to deal with. You see a bunch of single little guys. But yeah, it's fun because you can take the little pieces and then try to figure out what big chunks they connect to. And it looks like a big mess now, but once I start sorting out where the seam lines are going to go, it'll start to make sense. You'll see the pattern laid out with the cut lines, and break it into whichever pieces you need. That's really rad. Do you use fabric glue to join the foam seams? I don't. I use... For this, I'll be using barge, which is basically like for making shoes and saddles and stuff. It's really, really, really strong, and it sets fast, so it's a contact cement. And you basically brush it on the edges, let it dry, and then when you stick it together, it is permanent bond, and it's really awesome stuff. Very toxic, so you don't want to breathe it. You definitely wear a respirator or have good ventilation, or both, preferably. But it's really good. There are some other contact cements that are also good. There's one called Weldwood that's almost as good as barge, but it's a little easier to get. There's one by 3M. It's called I think it's called 1099. It's like some really industrial sounding stuff, and it's really good. It's probably my favorite of all the ones I've tried. It is very good contact adhesive, and you can use alcohol, or not alcohol, I'm sorry, you can use acetone as a solvent. And what's really cool about that is you can pre-coat the pieces with the glue and let it completely dry. And then, you know, especially if you're working on set or something, you need some pre-coated pieces for reinforcement or something, you can pre-coat them, let it dry, and then just have a little alcohol, or a little acetone in a little bottle, and you just quick brush them on, and it reactivates the glue. And then you can stick it together, and it's really, 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 really strong. Very heat resistant. It's very, very sturdy. But you can use acetone to release it. So if you set something up and you're not happy, some acetone will take it off. And Barge has its own thinner too, so you can thin it out and make it more or less viscous, because it's kind of like almost like a honey consistency right out of the pot. Maybe a little bit lower viscosity, but it is kind of thick. So I like to thin it a little bit. And I'm trying to think what other ones. There's other contact adhesives that are pretty good. Like some people will use like E6000 is pretty good, but I feel like the cure time on it's just too slow for my taste. It's good glue, it just cures slowly, and I am impatient. And then there's, honestly, with doing foam fabrication, hot glue is actually really, really good. So if you just use hot glue, it does a very good job of bonding the foam. And that stuff is very cheap, easy to get, and it's very fast to work with. But the contact adhesives have better overall flex and so forth. So they are great. I think as I put these together too, I'll probably make a video as I go so I can show what I'm doing. But like I got this foam fab thing. This is made out of some kind of what is this, like some fun foam, which is basically an EVA foam from the craft store. This is, I think this is 6mm. Let me check and see. Yep, acetone is a staple. And that's why that 3M stuff is so good, because acetone is something that you always have on hand. But the thinner for Barge is, oh my God, what is it called? Whatever that solvent is, it's a little harder to get, especially in California. And it's more expensive than acetone, and it's actually much more toxic than acetone, so it's, you know, not the optimal. So this is like this stuff is 5mm thick, and then the foam that I'll be using for the shorts is this stuff, and I think this is maybe 6mm. It's just a tiny bit thicker. Let's see what this is. Yeah, this is 6mm on the nose, like perfectly 6mm. So this is, I got a huge sheet of this stuff, and this is L200 foam, which most, if you're like looking at film industry stuff and they had anything that's foam fabricated, is almost always like one of the, usually L200. And they have a couple other lower and higher density versions, but L200 is very, very, very popular in the film industry for making things. It's really sturdy, easy to cut, and there are suppliers in the area. Very good. And yeah, but then I also have a big sheet of the L200 currently. I was going to make a set of droid legs a while ago, and I patterned them out by manually pattern them. I actually patterned them off of another set of legs that I had, just with tape and everything. Just made my patterns by hand. But I think I'm going to do some digital patterns like I'm doing here for the legs, and then try to do a set. So like everything from the waist down is foam fabricated. Even if the top part is fiberglass and 3D printed, having the lower half foam, it'll look the same. Nobody will be able to tell the difference, and it'll be way, way easier to walk around, which is probably one of the, you know, hardest things about wearing a protocol droid costume is just the mobility is turned down. I don't need to sit down or anything. I don't care about that. But walking around, the easier it is, the better. So that's what I'm doing. Starting to get this thing starting to come together as a big sheet of stuff. Yeah, we just gotta join it and then like split it back up and start to figure out where the seams are. So if I click this, you can see what's actually connected here. You get all these little pieces. It's fun to click the little pieces and see what giant chunk comes flying over to connect to it. Um, 11:45. It's almost late. Da-dow. Did anybody else here see The Brutalist? Or is it just us? Adrian Brody. Felicity Jones is in it. And most of it, pretty good. I don't know what I felt about the ending. The fact that I'm still thinking about it, I guess you could say that's a win for the filmmakers, but I found it annoying. Found it to be annoying. Let's see here. I'll break these pieces off. And if I connect this here, these are the kind of weird things that when you connect them, you're trying to get the flow worked out. All these random pieces everywhere. So many individual polygons just got left behind when I did this. Yeah, I'll go through this too, and then I'll figure out the ways to minimize it. Not that I would probably use it for these, but I think it'd be good to show. So when I do one of these patterns, I'll come back and go over it. I wasn't planning on doing foam patterns for the Patreon, but then I posted that video earlier, and several people wrote me and they're like, "Oh, I'd like foam patterns." I was like, "Okay, that is cool. I would like that." Because I wanted to make them for me anyway, so if other people want to use them, that's cool. That is cool. I don't want to join these. I want to let these go. So you can see this little overlap here, this solid line, and that is no good, but again, it is a thing that we will work out. And how it like is you see kind of how they break up here. Let me see here. I'm on the West Coast, Oregon. My night's just getting started. Yep, that's the thing. I'm in California. It's the same thing. Worm's coffee machine. Dude, I am the same way. I would drink coffee at night all the time. Actually, this week is the first time in a while I haven't. I think because I'm kind of might be on the fence of getting sick, and I'm trying to avoid it because I actually have doing the Saturn Awards on Sunday, and then I just picked up another gig on Saturday. What did I say? Saturn Awards Sunday, and I picked up a different gig on Saturday, and I don't want to be sick for them. I was supposed to do a marathon Saturday. I made all my medals. I don't know if you guys saw them. They're in the other room, but I made a whole bunch of the medals for this race because my friend puts it on, and it's really fun. Look forward to it every year. And I had to miss it in 2023, and I did it last year, super fun. I did it in 2022, and did I do it 2021? I did not do it 2021 because my knee was still messed up. That's when I had my surgery. So 2020, I've done it it's for the race, which is cool. It's just a little thing, but it's not like a custom thing. So I was like, I'm making the medals this year. And I wanted to cast them out of aluminum. I was going to get one of those little metal foundry kits so I could melt down a bunch of aluminum and just start casting things. But I did not get that yet. So I just 3D printed these medals. I made 26 of them. And I think they look pretty cool. But I got to make ribbons for them. And now I'm probably not going to be doing the race, but I got to go to the race in the morning at like 5 in the morning and bring the medals down there so that everybody can get their medal that I promised. So, yay. Probably end up running the first lap of it because it's like a 4-lap kind of race. Goes from close to the Hollywood Reservoir up through up to the wisdom tree, and then over to the Hollywood sign, and then like does this loop down, back down to the reservoir, and it does it again, and 4 times. And I think I could probably run the first loop of that before I have to go to the other gig. So I'm gonna try to do that just so I can get something in the morning, because I haven't been running much in the last, I don't know, last few months. I've been slacking. I feel like I'm thinking about learning aluminum casting a few times a week at this age. No, dude, it looks so cool. I've watched so much stuff on it. I've wanted to do it for ages. My dad used to make jewelry before I was born, but he had all the equipment when I was a kid, and I always regretted not taking advantage of having that stuff nearby, because he had a kiln and all the jeweler supplies, and it was really neat. And now it's he taught me how to do a bunch of the stuff, so I knew a lot of the concepts initially. Now I'm watching people do aluminum casting, and there's a lot of similarities in doing that and doing the jewelry. So I was like, all right, I think I can pull this off. And now I can incorporate, either just sculpt something by hand or 3D print stuff and make a mold and then make wax version, do lost wax castings if I need to, or I can do sand, do sand pour, sand casting kind of things. Anyway, it's going to be cool. I'm excited about it, and I've got a lot of ideas for stuff to make that I think will be neat, maybe, or they'll be dumb, but it'll be fun to make them anyway. It'll be fun to make them regardless. Alright, so you can see the TDM here, so I'm going to split these while I can spot that part. Let's see, can I connect this to something else? Figuring out all these little slices here, and where see this line here splits off and then does this whole thing. This is one of these ones where I probably have to split all the way down to piece like this until it pops loose. Boink. And then reconnect this edge. It overlaps on both sides. So basically I'd have to figure out somewhere along here is 2 pieces that I have to deal with, but it's okay, I'll come back to it. I think I'm going to get the whole thing as assembled as possible and then start breaking up the pieces, so that way I don't have 50 these little straggler bits all over the place, making me crazy. Yeah, this is the tedious part. So fun. And it looks like a big mess right now because nothing's organized, but again, as these things start to come together, it starts to look like a thing and it'll start making more sense. But this is the phase. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know what that little part is right there. You can see a lot of overlap in this area. Oh boy. And how many loose guys? We got these guys here. Chunk. And you got to kind of keep bouncing around and gathering up these little bits and pieces wherever they're at. Cool. Random. Again, there's something weirdly satisfying about this to me. So even though it's tedious, I kind of enjoy this part because there's something wrong with my brain. And as they get grouped up too, it's kind of like you can see better what you're working with. Here's another one. The line crosses over. Gotta sort that out. Figure these pieces out. It's pretty interesting. Just a heads up, your audio and video are not synced. Looks like video is ahead by like 25 seconds. Wow, that's crazy. Interesting. Let me pause it. Maybe I can pause my stream here. I'm gonna listen and see. Thank you for letting me know that. Wow, that's nuts. Yeah, probably just a thing here. All right, on that note, maybe I'll just call it out here, and then look at this. I can see everybody's things. It's like packing bubbles. That is actually very, very accurate. It really kind of is like that. Let me see if I can pause this here. Here's my YouTube studio. Let's go here. No, not there. Let's go to OBS Studio. I got all the stuff open. If I can pause this for a second, if it'll stop. That is very weird. It's glitching out. But you know what? I think I'm going to call it. It's late. I'm going to sit here and pluck away at this for a little bit, and then when I pop back on tomorrow, I'll have it further along, and it'll be not me just popping bubbles, like you said, which is legitimately very much what it's like. And then, yeah, I'll look at it, start splitting it up, and as I get the stuff, I'll leave some stuff for tomorrow, so it'll be educational at the best. So, but it's almost midnight anyway, and my date's going to be wrong on the title. So, it looks like my video's totally hung up over here. Well, that's weird. Wow. All right, just ignore that. Just don't look at that picture of me in the corner, and I'll just chatter. But okay, I'm getting out of here. You kids have fun.